Hello. Today I'm going to finish the watercolor rules drawings where we learn to work from light to dark. Always wins. Number one rule. Back to front, general to specific, and keep the paint transparent. So we've made these backgrounds. We've got a nice graded wash. We've got a graded wash with some dabbing, with some Kleenex for some clouds. And then I started with, this is also all three-wear wash. This one we started with the yellow, added a little more color around it, and then some blue, and kept a nice flowy circular mark to get these lines. So now that these have dried, I can start to add some details toward the front. I'm going to start to add some mountains and some water, and this one down here on the left. So let's see. Now, all the time I'm thinking about like what colors I want. I want this to be, this is going to be a graded wash this time. So let's see here. I'm going to put, first I'm going to mix my color. I want it to be ready. Now I'm going to start with these greens. Oops, I did not wet them beforehand. And just as a quick refresher, see how yucky my orange is? Perfect time to clean it. When it's dry, I can just get a little bit of water on there. And then because the top layer is gonna get softened up first, I can just clean that up real easy. See with the yellow, same thing. It works best if you kind of contaminate your colors to let them dry and then come back in and clean them up. Works real good, real good. All right, there we go. My colors are clean. I got a drop of water in each one so that they can soften. There we go. Now I'm going to make a kind of a blue-green, because remember, cool colors tend to recede a bit more. They appear to go back in space. So I'm going to do these mountains. I'm going to do sort of like green rolling hills, but I'm going to leave the one in the back to be more of a blue-green, so it recedes a bit more. And I don't want it to be too dark because I want it to fade back there. So let's get a little more blue in there. All right, like so. So I got that. I'm going to bring this, let's see, let's go this way. And then you can see a little better. All right, now I'm gonna come over here, come about maybe a little more than halfway up. I'm gonna make this sort of irregular hill pattern. I could use a little more paint on this part. Come on, soak up some, soak up. Follow that line again. And now to soften it, and get that like sort of quick graded wash. I didn't wet first because I'm just going to fade this right away. And I know I'm going to put another hill in front of it. So I'm continually cleaning my brush here. And I'm going to let this kind of fade out. All right, but I can't do the next hill yet because I want to give it an edge like this. So I got to let that one dry. I'm cleaning my brush and trying to soften this edge a little bit. I could go all the way down to blend it, but because I know I'm putting one in front, I know I'm going to add one in there. So we'll leave that guy. And I'm going to come up here with a nice thin round. Let's move this guy back over here so you can see it. I'm going to add, with some dry brush technique, a little tree, some little plants maybe. I got a little water in there. That's okay. If I let that dry, it would just stay. So I'm going to start with my tree. Now remember, we talked about before how trees, get some yellow in there. I'm going to use some yellow-green this time. And again, I always mix before I put it on the page. It's always going to get a nice variety of colors. Let's see, where am my tree? I'll put my tree over here. I'm going to pretend my light source is coming this way because I want to make sure I think about light source as I make my tree so that I can make it look more three-dimensional. And remember, a branch might be coming this way, so it's going to be like a blob. It's not a sphere, spherical-ish blob, but not a perfect blob because, you know, a tree's not going to be a perfect blob. And I want some light to come through the tree. This is going to be like a bigger splotch, a bigger spherical blob of branches here kind of in the middle. Oh, that got a little big. Keep my mark. And these are meant to look like leaves, so I can do them. Leaves don't grow perfectly in the same direction, right? Oh, this is a big one. I don't want quite so big, so maybe that looks more clumpy like. Maybe I got one over here. Maybe this one's a little taller. Change my direction a little. So I'm getting my lights in there. There we go. I'm kind of thinking of 3 big branches right now. So blob, blob, blob. Now I need to come back in with a little bit of darker green to get some more shadow in there. And so if this is my light source coming from this way, I'm going to add these darks kind of around the middle, maybe just a couple on the edges. It's not going to be perfectly light, right? But I definitely want more darks away from the light source. And then the last color I'm going to use here, I'm going to add a tiny touch of red too, because red is the complementary color of green. It's across the color wheel. So by adding just a little bit of red, it will really give it that depth. I always use complements when I'm using color instead of black to darken things, because it will give you more dimension to your color. All right, so just a touch. I call it breaking the, oh, it's a lot. That's a lot. Let's get some more green in there to counteract that. That's better. There we go. So I have a medium, a light, and now I have my dark. So I'm thinking of this as if I was shading a sphere. I'm making this blobbiness with the highlight, some mediums, and then some darks around the side. Here's my next blobbiness. And I've done this kind of shaped tree, I think, before. So this is not like a standard, you know, this is just what I happen to choose for this one. Trees can be different things. And even though this is going to be my highlight, there's going to be shadows popping through. So just a couple, not a lot, because you know it's got to be different. Those look a little uniform. And I do want these to be separate marks because that's going to give me the feel of the leaves. Now I also like to work in like related colors and color families. Oh, they're a happy family. Oh, how they go together. So as I start to do branches, I've worked light to dark. So you can see I went in with light. Now I'm going to take a little more of that red and put it with my green. And this is going to give me, see how it gives me this nice like brownish color? That's going to work really nice for my branches and limbs. There we go. And it's the same color family. All right, so now I'm going to put my, here's my trunk, and I can just let it go off into this tape here. And then I'm just gonna, once it gets into the leaves, I'm just sort of hinting at it because it's just gonna, it's gonna get like stuck in there, right? It's gonna get covered up by some leaves. Maybe there's another one here that I don't quite see. I wanna make sure, this is my dark, so I wanna make sure I got enough paint on my brush to give that feel. And I'm using just some longer lines here. And then as I get toward these edges, I want the indication of branches in there, but not too dominant that it doesn't look possible, right? So these little branches, they're just little because they're tucked in here. And these would be thicker because they're closer, so I could do a little more on those if I want. And this is going to be nice and thin up here. There. Et voila. Now, I'm going to play with, I just add a little bit of ground. It's a little bit like cliche because I'm just going straight along the ground, but just to play, you know, get the idea of some of these. And I can play with different colors. Now grass are, you know, this is pretty tall grass here if you look at how high it's going up on the tree. I'm trying to use a nice line coming down off the edge. Maybe I'll see there. Not too perfect. Let me take some of my other green here just to mix it up. That's probably a lot on my brush. I'll dab a little bit off. I want to make sure, do a little couple tests. It's not very green. It's still pretty dark. That's better. A little too much. I want to keep the marks really thin and just mix up the color a little, give it a little something different. So I, you know, give them maybe some are a little taller. Happy grasses, just like Bob Ross would say. And then, I don't know, I really love fields of poppies, so I'm going to add a little bit of poppy in here. You can do whatever you want. Maybe your flowers are yellow. That'd be yellow. I don't know why I said yellow. And just teeny touches, because you see little bitty flowers, little bitty. So I can just add, you know, just want to add a little color. There we go. So it's tree in a field. There you go. I'm going to go back over here to my mountains, do my next layer. Maybe this one's going to be a little more green. Now I've added a bunch of brown and stuff to there, so I'm going to mix back over here. It's all right if it's a little different. No, I'm not actually. I want it to go with the blue and the green that I have there, so it's not too different. I don't want it to look, I want it to, again, keep similar colors in there. So this one now has a little more paint. Let's make sure it's a little more green than the other one. And I'm gonna do, ooh, this one's a la paint. That's cool. It works. Oh, that's a little too uniform. Let's mix that up. There we go. How about something like that? Bring some of this paint across because it's kind of dark, this layer. Then I'm going to clean my brush and take that nice water in my brush and soften that edge kind of quickly here because I don't want that edge to solidify. If you're using like school grade watercolor paper, or not even watercolor paper, sometimes like a mixed media, that might set up pretty quick. So come back with your water pretty quickly. There you go. And I would continue. I would do more of these, but just to give you the idea, maybe now I could come in and maybe now I just want to play with it a little bit. I'd practice. I would do another, but I don't want to make this tutorial too long. So maybe I'm just gonna put some stuff in there. For practice, I'd do one more mountain or hills, and then I don't know, maybe now I want some of this dark just to kind of mix it up. And it's wet right now, so I can just let this all blend. Right? I can just get some different colors and effects in here. And then I'm just going to soften this edge so I can kind of make it almost like it's coming down to water here. So here's the water. Here's some other little wet into wet just to give it, you know, some detail. Then I want to use those same colors as if it's reflecting in the water. So I'm going to take these same things and I'm going to go, you know what I'm going to do first? I'm going to soften that edge and dry it just a touch because I want it to be separate. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of space and I'm going to do really nice horizontal lines. Kind of mix it up. See how it's lighter here and then it gets darker? So maybe I want some of these darker lines. Oops, that's not really horizontal. Further out, as if the light is reflecting. And then toward the top, actually toward the bottom, I'm reflecting there. I need some more of that blue in there, don't I? It's getting a little dark. Let's add a touch more water. Now I've got my blue-green, because that would be too much. Reflecting there. And giving the illusion of the water down here. So really continuous horizontal lines. Really try and keep them as horizontal as possible. I can soften it and even it out like I did here, or I can leave the light shining on it as if that's moving. I think I'm going to leave the light on this upper part up here. I'm not going to soften it. I like the texture. So I have the water, I have the mountains. I can come back and add little things here. Maybe some little rocks and things. I'm going to take my round, get some of this dark stuff. Maybe there's something happening in here. Maybe they got these. I don't know. I'm going to let this dry before I do too much because I don't want to have it right near the water. I could come back with some details there. Just to give it a little bit of variance here. Now, there we go. Something like that. It's just playing. There, just play. Now over here, what do I want to do over here? Maybe now over here I'm going to play with some plants or something a little more close up. I'm going to go with some water, some yellow. How about, remember, okay, let's think. Light to dark, back to front. So now I've done the back, I'm in the front. I'm going to do some lights. What if I have sort of like, oh, this yellow. Sure. This is a little darker than I thought it would be, but that's cool. Covers nicely. I don't know. These are some like weedy looking plants. I'm just playing. I don't know what this, I don't have a plan for this one. Maybe I should before I make a video of it. But this is take a little chance with this. Play some stuff. Play with something. Play some stuff. See what you might want to do. So I'm working with my lighter colors. Let's see, how about some orange in there? Let's let it like wet into wet in these tiny little, it's effectively dry brush, but it's, so I have these lighter colors, but I'm letting the colors come together in here. Maybe this guy's a little darker because that's not as opaque. I want it to be transparent, but maybe just enough opacity here to get some color. So not really opaque completely. All right, now let's see. Let's add some darker green in here. For this, maybe those are like long tall flowers and these are the leaves. So I'm kind of like cutting in the darks underneath. So I'm playing with my techniques. I'm playing with my rules. Light into dark. So I'm doing these darker colors last. Oh, we'll see. Just playing. See what you think. It can be kind of abstract. All right, so I have that. Maybe I come back over here. What if I want some like beachy lookingness here? A little more yellow. Ooh, it's too much. But I'm doing these and working back and forth so that it is good. It's dry, so I can get more of a detail look to it now. And I could keep playing, keep building it up, or I can say, all right, this is good. But I'm not so concerned about like making a thing as I am giving the impression of like some sort of landscapey, I don't know, these are plants. It's the beach. Maybe there's some of that reflecting in the water too. That color. Maybe I want a little more oranginess. More shadowy. I don't know. Have fun. I think that's enough. You get the idea. Just to play with some details. That's the last part. Your washes, work back and forth, play. Whoops, got distracted. That should have been flat. There we go. And notice the general to specific. I'm getting more dry brush, more specific details as I come closer. So I followed my rules. Yeah. There we go. All right. Thank you.